and Business Administration from Ben Gurion University of the Negev. He also holds a master's degree in public administration from John Kennedy School of Government at Harvard University. So welcome both. So the deal from the 13th of August between Israel and UAE, sponsored United States, has sent huge waves, and not only across the region. It has been named a peace deal, normalization agreement, betrayal and destruction of Arab Peace Initiative, or even a bazaar deal, depending on whom you talk to. But if you leave all this cement behind, we are left with the fact that even it's not a strategic reversal in the course of either of the actors. The deal might be a real paradigm shift, and not only in Israeli-Palestinian issue, but in the regional power balances. Given the fact that the negotiations have been ongoing between the two countries since 2015, and the deal is only a public acknowledgement and exposure of already existing good relations between the countries. What is different now? Why we are having the deal now? How would you describe this, define this from UAE perspective, Ebtessam, if I can ask you, if I can start with you.
Thank you, Sylvia. It's a pleasure to be with you, and thanks for Global Sec for this invitation. Well, I would say that this deal came as throwing a stone in stagnant water. From my perspective, it is a game changer, really. And although the timing that people they are looking at it, it is because of the U.S. presidential election. But in my view, as a political analyst, no strategic shifts can be based on short-term calculation. This deal actually came to reflect the rational and realistic political process that is deeper and much mature than that presumed linkage between the presidential election and the deal.
Exactly. Thank you, Ebtessam. Amos, what you would like to? How do you see it from the Israeli perspective? Why now? Why we are having this deal now?
Why now? It's a tough year, 2020. A pandemic, health crisis, economic crisis, political crisis, and we really needed some good news. So that's, I say simply, why now? Because we need some good news. And this deal, and you're absolutely right, it's still only a deal. It's not yet an agreement. It's not yet a formal normalization, but this deal is achieving, and if I will take Ebtessam speaking about a stone, it's basically killed in a positive way two birds in one stone. It has stopped annexation, which was a negative procedure that could lead to instability in the Middle East, and it achieved the third normalization or peace between Israel and Arab countries. So looking at it today on the short term, it's very, very important, and I'm hoping so much that in the future, it will show us that we can achieve a peace that is not only between two leaders, it's a peace between two people. So the people in the UAE and in Israel will do what we are unable to do with, unfortunately, with Egypt and Jordan, create a warm peace that will encourage each other to visit each other, to know each other as a human being, to have a partnership on economic endeavors, to do student exchange, tourism, if one day we can be flying again. So I think the hope for the long run is to show the Arabs and the Israelis and everybody in the world that peace is much better than hostility and war.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. In your paper you recently penned, you are praising the deal, but you are also calling for a cautious optimism. So in what do you see the caveats of peace deal between the two countries which never been at war and are? So what kind of peace and how can it be achieved?
I think that the UAE has shown a lot of courage and leadership because in this triangle, the US and Israel is about going to election, and Trump and Netanyahu needed an achievement, a positive achievement. The UAE has a leader that look into the future and want to show the neighborhood what I already described, that new relations should create a base for peace. Why I'm cautiously optimistic? Because it's go against what happened in the Middle East in the last 20 years. Since the Arab Peace Initiative in 2002, that came in the middle of the bloodshed of the Second Intifada, and nobody really paid attention to it, but it gave a veto to the Palestinians on the relation and normalization of Israel with the Arab world. And it's led to 20 years that we wasted on not moving forward. And I do hope that other countries in the Middle East will follow the UAE leadership, which in a way can help solve the Israeli-Palestinian issue, but I'm sure you will ask about it later.
You mentioned the Palestinian issue. Ebtessam, you said recently that Palestinians were given golden opportunity as the annexation talks had been halted. However, Palestinians, it seems that all fractions of Palestinians, they unite against the deal. So what is it what they don't see? What would you say about that, Ebtessam?
Well, Sylvia, accusing UAE of betrayal by all the Palestinian faction is an irrational accusation and not based on the logic of strategic analysis of the Middle Eastern landscape. If we apply the what-if methodology, we will realize that the lack of normalization of relations between Israel and the Arab countries over the past decades has not moved the Palestinian-Israeli peace process forward and has not achieved any gains for Palestinians. So normalization between the UAE and Israel might move this process forward, or at worst things will remain the same. The deadlock in regional relations has not led to any gains for anyone. So therefore, the UAE has decided to think outside the box, hoping that the region might move towards peace and prosperity. So the UAE, peace, whatever you want to say, treaty, deal, agreement with Israel is not aimed against any Arab countries. UAE calculation do not include competing over the role with brother countries that already have ties with Israel, but you can call it that was mainly with Egypt and Jordan, that you can call it cold peace.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Eli Podeh just wrote now that the agreement is a great thing, but it wouldn't be enough. And he's actually suggesting that it should be accompanied by an Israeli initiative for resolving the Palestinian issue. What would be your suggestion if you were supposed to advise something at this moment? You can start, and I would like to hear from Ebtesam as well, or Ebtesam, if you would like to continue in what you were saying.
Well, Sylvia, as the Palestinian National Authority position is rational, I think also the position of extremists inside Israel is also irrational. So to continue building Israel policies on the extremist logic will leave Israel an isolated country from its environment. So Amos was talking about people to people, public to public. So I think that Netanyahu's courage and the Israeli institutions that made this deal succeeded will contribute in writing down a new chapter in history of Israeli ties with the region. On both sides, there are extremists and skeptics. The Emirati-Israeli deal has surpassed the logic of both. We have learned from history that whoever opposes people's interest loses. So as a result of this deal, we might see some changes in power distribution inside Israel. It is also likely that we might see a revisit of the historical perspective of the conflict and an adjustment of the prevailing narrative on each side towards the other. If this does not happen, the treaty will move slowly.
Okay, so some say that this deal is perhaps changing the terms of Arab Peace Initiative, and the two-state solution is now taken off the table. Amos, what do you think about that?
On the contrary, I think the Arab Peace Initiative problem was that it was a dictate. If Israel will agree to all the parameters that was there, then there will be a normalization. And some people saw the Trump plan also as a dictate, some Palestinians. But I do remember that in the night in January, when Trump announced his plan, it was a peace plan. It was a base for negotiation. Unfortunately, the Palestinians boycotted the process and the plan and the relation with the Trump administration. I do think that there is now an opportunity to go back to negotiation. Each side will come with his own parameters. Because what is the problem? The problem is that both still 60% of the Palestinians, 60% of the Israelis are believing in two-state solution. However, when they start to speak on the details and the parameters of the two-state solution, the gap is serious and very wide. So let's narrow the gap about the two-state solution. Let's bring the moderate Arabs, the pragmatic Arabs, with the Palestinians to the negotiation table and try to start and narrow the gap and try to think differently, because we haven't changed our thinking since the previous century. And we need to be more innovative on new ideas, new realities on the ground, and some arrangements that can bring us to the two-state solution. Why I say the two-state solution is not there? Because the big achievement of the UAE is freezing annexation. So not going to one state or not going to make the Palestinian future state not viable. In a way, the fact that the UAE joined Jordan and Egypt gives them a leverage against Israelis' future steps that will kill the two-state solution idea. So that's why I think Mohammed bin Zayed deserves a lot, not only from Israel, from the Palestinians, from those Arabs who want a solution and not continuation of what we are having in the last decades.
So what both of you are saying is that Israeli-UAE deal is basically capable of speeding up the two-state solution, right? So what would you say to those countries who might or are still thinking about following, but they are not sure about that UAE perspective? How would you encourage other actors in the region? Ebtesam.
Well, if I may comment, and I will come to your question. The deal constituted a strategic shock for some regional players, including the Palestinian National Authority, and reflected a strategic shift in the relation between the two parties of to the agreement. So therefore, both sides need to capitalize on this shift to help resolve the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. This makes perfect sense since such conflict will remain a main obstacle in the way of implementing the agreement. Of course, not to mention that the settlement of this issue will push the other Arab countries to follow the UAE approach. So since the deal came as a result of thinking outside the box, both Palestinian and Israelis need to have ideas and courage similar to those that led to the conclusion of deal between UAE and Israel. Israel's decision to freeze annexation will give the Palestinian and Israelis the chance to rethink the peace process and open channels for strategic dialogue and negotiation in a bid to reach a solution to their long-standing conflict. If no solutions scenario persist with the continued Israeli unilateral measures such as the latest annexation plan, this will make Tel Aviv strategically pay a high price. By the way, this assessment is shared by some Israeli think tanks where Amos belong, INSS. The successful implementation of the deal and the normalization of relation based on a process of building trust founded upon rational calculation will encourage Arab parties and US to push the negotiation process between the Palestinian and Israeli sides forward in a practical manner that leads to durable solution. Now, I mentioned that between Egypt, between Jordan and Israel, that was cold peace. It means that it was not people to people. Here, in the case of UAE, we didn't have a war with Israel. So, and we don't have, and as I said also to another group yesterday, discussing the same issue, we have a young generation, and the young generation did not witness the wars, the Arab wars with Israel, okay? Plus, of course, the Palestinian case, it's not the priority now. After the Arab Spring, Palestinian case back. Each countries have their problem. They are thinking about their problem. This is their priority. You have Egypt, you have Syria, we have Libya, we have Iraq, we have Yemen, we have many things to do. So the young generation I mentioned, and I saw them. So maybe this normalization, people to people, which did not happen in the previous cases, with the Arab countries did peace agreement with Israel, might encourage the others. If they see the outcome, the successful outcome coming from this deal, will encourage them. The normalization, if Israel also, and this is of course, it takes two to dance tango. This will depend not only in UAE, it will depend also in Israel convincing the Arab world that it's really want normalization and peace and stop that any kind of violence against Palestine.
Mm-hmm. But the reaction is not coming only from Palestinian side, or other quarters. It's coming also, for instance, from part of the Likud party, almost, right? Some people there claim that or say that Netanyahu promised annexation and he delivered direct flights to Abu Dhabi. What to them?
Yeah, I think we. Please.
No, I just wanted to say that took courage from both sides, from Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed, from from Netanyahu, Prime Minister Netanyahu, because both of them look at it as it's a win-win deal for both of them, and it deserves all sacrifice from anybody, either blaming UAE from Arabs or blaming Israeli from inside Israeli Likud part.
To have such a game changer, it really needs us courage. So yes, Amos.
To your question, I think if it will be brought to the Israeli Knesset to be approved, it will be overwhelming majority, including Likud. I will assess 90 out of 120. There is like 10% extreme right, mostly settlers, and there is the 15 members of the Knesset which are Arabs, and they get most of their political guidance from Ramallah, and we don't understand, but Ramallah is against it. But most of the Israelis support it. Most of the Israelis realize that annexation is a bad idea. It's a poison option with a very short expiration date, January 2021. But I think we spoke too much on the Israeli-Palestinian issue, and we have to look at how the UAE and Israel looking at other issues in the Middle East. And in this respect, we basically share a lot of values, we share a lot of interests, and I hope we will be able to create trust, because this is the three pillars of two countries having normalization and alliance. I think we are two small countries. We are countries that look for peace. We countries that look for modernization. We countries that look for moderation. And we have enemies, common enemies. Iran, mostly, and all the Iranian allies in the Middle East, which are Hezbollah and some Iranian proxies all over the place, in Yemen and Iraq, in Syria. We have ISIS, the radical Islamists, which are both enemies of Israel and UAE. And we have the Muslim Brotherhood as ideologies that both are not happy with. So based on values and based on interest, I think this alliance has a potential for a future long cooperation if there will be trust between the leaders and the people. This is a challenge still in front of us.
This is it's great to hear, Anna, to the poll conducted by Channel 12. 80% of Israelis, they prefer normalization, right, to annexation. So, but having said this, this deal is covering many areas. It is covering diplomacy, security, technology, health, business. But some say that it's all about the weapons. So, what do you think, Amos? How this prospective and nowadays controversial issue, sale of F-35 to UAE, would it really jeopardize the, or is it contrary to the terms of QME, the qualitative military edge, or not?
Yeah, you raised an issue that came a little bit later after the announcement that the deal is basically on canceling the annexation for normalization. Then there were leaks from Washington, from Abu Dhabi, maybe from Jerusalem, that there is another element to the deal, and this is a huge supply of advanced weapon to the UAE. And then the story developed as if Prime Minister Netanyahu is denying the fact that this is part of the deal, but his friends over the ocean, Jared Kushner and President Trump, announcing that they will be more liberal in selling advanced airplane and maybe UAVs and maybe cyber capabilities to the UAE. This is something that the public is not aware of. It was never published. Depends who you want to believe to, whether to Trump or to Netanyahu. I think future will tell. Future will tell where is the truth. If it is integral part of the deal, and it is not happening, I think we will hear from the UAE that they are not happy that part of the deal is not materialized. If it is part of the deal, and we will see the administration submitting to Congress weapon deals, then we know that Trump was right and Bibi was wrong. Let's wait for the future.
Thank you. Now there is a question from the public, and the question is directly following your comments on this issue, Amos. The question is directed to Ebtesam. It's from Tommy Steiner, and he's asking whether UAE and how much and the Israeli reservations. What do you make out of it? Ebtesam.
UAE? Can you repeat the question, please, Sylvia? Sylvia? Hello?
Ibtesam, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but I asked Sylvia to repeat the question. I didn't hear it well.
She asked what is the opinion and what the UAE is thinking about this part of the deal, the issue of supplying advanced weapons to the UAE.
Okay. I don't have the details like you, Amos, but I think if this is part of the deal, it will be legitimate that UAE also living in an environment, in a region full of threats, and it wants to protect itself by the most advanced weapons that at least, I mean, here, although I said this deal is not against anybody, but we all know the threats from the Iranian proxies, now from Turkey, from Muslim Brotherhood. So getting this, it is, I think also it's a work for UAE taking this initiative and being the first Arab Gulf countries normalize with Israel. But as I said in the beginning, strategic decision does not base on short term. It's not only about the arm. This is a strategic shift. It's combining from many aspects. So this is part of it, but this is not all the issue.
Yes, I'm sorry. It was interrupted. The electricity. There was an electricity cutoff, so I didn't get the beginning of what you were saying. But I presume that you were talking about, or you were answering the question from the public. So there was another question from the public, and it was about Iran. How much is Iran, or how much is Iran a part of UAE-Israel agreement? Amos. And the question was directed to both of you.
The question is what Iran can do about the agreement?
No, how much of the agreement is about Iran, if I understood the question correctly?
I think I answered it before. I said that beside the Palestinians, the Middle East is full of challenges and full of threats from the UAE position standpoint and from Israeli standpoint. Iran is a very negative force in the Middle East. And they are playing against the stability in the Middle East, and they have the desire to have hegemony in the Middle East and control the Persian Gulf or the Arab Gulf, and to have influence in every Arab country and capital, which they have now in Baghdad, Damascus, Beirut, and Sana'a. So no doubt that Iran is threatening the UAE and threatening Israel in their aspiration for hegemony, as well as developing the capability to have nuclear weapons. So I will not be surprised, even though nobody will speak about it explicitly, that the threat of Iran and the fact that the US is disengaging, and this is not only the Trump administration, it has started with the Obama administration. So it's leave the struggle against Iran to the Middle Eastern forces, countries, states, and Israel and UAE and Saudi Arabia and some other countries, Egypt, are finding themselves in a need to cooperate more to cope with the Iranian threat.
Abtesam, what would you say about it? Do you have anything to add?
Yeah. While this agreement is not specifically directed against any party, it will certainly help weaken choices of other regional powers like Iran and Turkey as well. So there is currently competition between regional projects such as those led by Iran and Turkey, as the region is plagued by whispered chaos and is witnessing the decline of traditional Arab major powers. There is a near collapse of some Arab states, as the case Syria, Yemen, Iraq, Libya, and Lebanon. So both Turkey and Iran mainly rely on non-state actors to expand their influence in the region, a fact that aggravated the already chaotic situation there. So the deal can serve as a preload, rebuild regional alliances sponsored by the US. This will necessarily lead to a new strategic interactions that contribute to the redistribution of power in the Middle East region. So it is expected that Iran's influence will decline in the Levant, while the US will continue its efforts to isolate Tehran influence in Iraq. As for Turkey, it has no strategic choice to grow and thrive far away from the United States, EU, and NATO. So if Ankara chooses not to go back to its traditional path aligned with the West, it will certainly lose and change will take place in the redistribution of power in the region as a result of its decline, its regional losses, and current Turkish government's failure in development plans. So it's likely that the deal will help ease and later resolve chronic regional conflict. It is the only region in the world that suffers from the big number of raging conflicts. While President Trump's administration is committed to achieving peace in Middle East region, this deal serves as the catalyst for this for that purpose, which has been the vacuum created by the Arab Spring in the region. Found opportunity to both Iran and Turkey to fill that vacuum and to distribute their power in the region.
Yeah, definitely. This deal is having a potential to change the regional power balances. Now we have 2 minutes left, 2-3 minutes left. I'm a strong supporter and believer in people-to-people contacts in any kind of normalization, in any kind of peace deal, in any kind of dispute that it's, or not even dispute, but in any kind of normalization process. What would you, like one part of the deal is tourism. How do you see the numbers of the tourists from each country? It's at the end of the day, it should be about people. We were talking about security, we were talking about strategy. Let's talk about people of both countries a bit. And with that, I would like you to conclude. I think it's a nice and soft end. Amos.
Okay, let me start. The Israelis are very much enjoying tourism in the Middle East, where they cannot go to a neighboring country. They will go to the next circle: Greece, Cyprus, Turkey. Unfortunately, our relation with Turkey were spoiled in the last decade, and I think the UAE is a wonderful place for the Israelis to go. We know that the hospitality there is amazing. The infrastructure for tourists are amazing. And if the normalization will go forward in a positive way, and if the disease will disappear, or we find a vaccine soon, I see hundreds of thousands of Israelis putting Abu Dhabi and Dubai and the UAE on their tourism map, and vice versa, because Tel Aviv is interesting. And one of the most important sentence in this declaration, in this deal that the three leaders have done 2 weeks ago, was that Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem, Al-Quds, will be open to every Muslim. This is something that can bring a lot of tourism from UAE to Israel, and once again set the model for other Arab countries how peace can contribute so much positive aspects to their life.
Thank you, Abtesam. Thank you.
I think always people to people, this is the cushion for the official relation between the two governments. It's not only tourism. There is economy, there is in the field of health, and we already signed an agreement with Israel regarding developing the vaccination. And there is another thing also that, which I think tank to think tank. This is also can help in putting the infrastructure for this relation, discussion between the two sides to materialize this relation, to benefit from both sides. It's not only tourism, because this is simple things, but if you want to make it deeper and real normalization, benefiting both sides, it should be in many fields and aspects.
Thank you so much for your great and valuable insights. I think it was a great panel. I really enjoyed talking to you. I would like to talk to you in person, but next time, hopefully after all this pandemics is over. And so, yes, again, thank you, Dr. Ebtesam Al-Kedvi. Thank you, General Amos Yadlin, and hope to see you soon. Now, stay with us for the next panel, which is update on Lebanon. Please don't log out. And I'm leaving the floor to my colleagues. Thank you all.
Umenie nás inšpiruje, prináša radosť a robí svet krajším.